name is David Weinstein, and I've worked for a very long time with organic farmers trying to bring healthy organic food to people all over the country. Just because it's better if you know who I am. I come from a long line of troublemakers and rabble-rousers and people that in trouble. My grandparents worked in downtown LA organizing the International Ladies Garment Workers Union back to the time when the first round of sweatshops blanketed downtown Los Angeles, and they brought the union movement to Southern California. My father was a union organizer in his younger days, and my mother organized daycare centers and child care centers as part of the faculty that Martin Luther King brought child care to all over Southern California. So I come from a long line of troublemakers, and in that spirit, a long time ago, we had a vision of a food system that didn't exclude most of the people from the opportunity of eating good, healthy, wholesome food, didn't pollute the water, didn't pollute the soil, didn't throw farmers off the land and create deserts and ghost towns where rural America used to live. We had a vision of what is now called food justice, where everyone in every part of every city, everywhere, had access to enough good, wholesome, nutritious food that, as the woman said, we didn't need to go to doctors because we had food for medicine. And we looked around and we realized that we didn't live in that place. And it wasn't looking like we were going to live in that place, or our children were going to live in that place either. So we said, well, why don't we just change that? And we started organizing food co-ops. I've belonged to the food co-op in Santa Monica since the 70s. And we created networks of co-op-owned wholesalers and co-op-owned truck lines, and began to organize food co-ops throughout Southern California. And I remember once when we started a little buying club, we came in and we were all excited because there was another food co-op. And the woman who was kind of heading up this little crusade looked at me and said, look, it's great that there's another food co-op, but it's not like Safeway is going to call you up one day and say, okay, you win, we lose, here's the keys. Okay. We do this because we need to, because it's right, because it's our passion for justice and to take care of one another. But don't imagine that you don't pass on the struggle to your children and to your grandchildren. It's forever. It's what brings us together. But what is organic produce? That's where we started. We said maybe we can do something with the people in California who grow our fruits and vegetables. Because California is where all the produce comes from. This state where we live is a cornucopia of everything that is best to eat. This is where the apples come from, and the cherries, the apricots, and the peaches, and the nectarines, and the plums, and the pluots, the apricots. This is where the corn comes from. This is where the zucchini and the Brussels sprouts and the cabbage all come from. We grow all this, and we supply it to everyone all over the country, and we send it all over the world, and it all comes from here. And in my lifetime, and in the lifetime of a lot of us, Los Angeles County grew more fresh fruit and vegetables than it consumed. Think about that. Where we are standing now, near here, used to be farmland. Used to grow beans, corn, soybeans, to feed the people that lived in Los Angeles. Once upon a time, there was a family called Ralphs. That was their last name, Mr. and Mrs. Ralphs. And they decided to open a grocery store. And they were very good at it, and they opened lots of grocery stores. And they were owned by the Ralphs family who lived in Los Angeles. And in the late 80s, having created several hundred grocery stores, they sold it to some investors who sold it to a corporation that's headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio. And the first thing that corporation did in order to streamline and increase the value of their shares, having acquired the Ralphs Grocery Company, was to send a letter to, literally, this is, I am not making this up, this is true stuff, send a letter to hundreds of local farmers in Southern California who grew the produce that you used to buy in Ralph's grocery store, and saying, in order to streamline our operations and to become more efficient and more profitable and return greater dividends to our investors, we no longer wish to do business with any of you. We have contracts with corporate agriculture, headquartered somewhere else, to supply us with all the produce that we need. And therefore, your relationships with Ralph's Grocery Company is now terminated. And hundreds of farmers who supplied fresh fruits and vegetables to Ralph's Grocery Company to supply to you and your families for 2 and 3 and 4 generations closed their doors, sold their land to people who put condos and apartments on it, so that our environment now, the air we breathe, the water that we drink, is that much more devastating. That's what we're looking to change. That's what SoLA is about. Okay? SoLA is a food store that provides food to the people who live in this community. And the profits from doing that stay in this community. SoLA is a user-owned grocery store. It's owned by the people who use it. And when it makes money, the profits it generates go to the people who use it. They don't go to Cincinnati. They don't go to Abu Dhabi. They don't go to London. They don't go to Hong Kong. They stay here with the people who use it. That would be us. Organic produce is fruit and vegetables, row crops, wheat, corn, cotton, that are grown without synthetic fertilizer, without synthetic pesticides, without synthetic herbicides, without genetically modified seeds. Organic produce is produce that's grown in land, in soil that has been nurtured, that has been improved, that has been cared for and made more fertile and more nutritious and more healthy in order to support the plants that grow on it. Organic produce is produce that is grown in a way that allows the grandchildren of the farmers who grow it to grow more produce on the very same land. Organic produce is a commitment to a sustainable future in which not only we can feed ourselves, but our children can feed themselves, our grandchildren can feed themselves, and there is room in the environment for all of the creatures that we share the planet with. Organic produce does not poison the soil, does not poison the water, does not poison the farm workers who grow it, does not poison the truckers who haul it, does not poison the store workers who supply it to you and I, who does not poison you and I when we eat it. Organic produce is produce grown without poison. Organic produce is produce that's grown by working with the natural forces of the planet that we share in order to provide ourselves with food. That's enough.